Have you ever wondered how each of the characters ended up at the digital circus? When did they arrive? Or even the chronology of their abstraction? Well, friends, all of this has an explanation and a story behind it. Let's begin. In 1999, the company C&A was developing its most ambitious project, an artificial intelligence capable of generating worlds on its own. The main people involved in this project were Grant, better known as Kinger, and also Scratch. Scratch's ideas were already influenced by an unstable mind. In that same year, 1999, the first test subjects entered the system. Kinger, Queenie, Scratch, Spike, Ratty, Bisco, and Warmo. It's not entirely clear if they were all the first programmers of the digital circus, but one thing was very clear to us. Their arrival was not planned. In fact, we can see Scratch all upset with Kane for what he did. And despite being the first generation of characters in the incredible digital circus, surprisingly, it took a year before we saw the first character in history to become abstracted. Who was Scratch himself, the same one who gave the ideas for the creation of Kane? This happened in the year 2000. They probably didn't even know that becoming abstracted was possible inside the circus, which definitely had a big influence on the fact that a year later, another character became abstracted. In 2001, Bisco became abstracted, a little clown jester with a polka dot suit. 2 years later, in 2003, Spike, the purple dinosaur, falls. The same thing happens with Ratty in 2005 and Wormo in 2006. And finally, in 2007, one of the most important characters in this series becomes abstracted. This first generation Queenie, who was the beloved wife of Kinger. The saddest thing is that Kinger promised his wife Queenie that as long as they were together, he wouldn't let anything happen to her.
No matter what happens, I will always...
And now you're going to the basement!
He saw it himself when Kane put her in the basement, so Kinger is left alone. The surprising thing is that he didn't get abstracted, even though he was left alone for 2 years in a row. We don't know if during that time he was having adventures with Kane or what he was doing. But his loneliness ended in 2009 with the arrival of Ragatha. And the arrival of Ragatha makes us realize that there were still people in the C&A facilities. Because when Ragatha appears in the circus, he says, "Guys, can you hear me? How do I take this off?"
I don't know how to take this off.
It's not known if the guys he was talking to were the next characters who arrived or investigators who wanted to continue with the digital circus project. Well, in that same year, we also had the arrival of Kaufmo and the Pink Cyclops, who would make up the second generation of characters in the digital circus. In 2010, the Pink Cyclops was abstracted for unknown reasons. In fact, we hardly have much information about this character. The incredible thing is that in that same year, a character with an orange bow arrived, who only lasted a year in the digital circus, since their abstraction happened in 2011. And in this same year, we have the arrival of Ribbit, a girl who would later become very important in the story. In 2012, 2 more characters joined the circus, the Rabbit Clown and a Blue Oyster. Very mysterious characters, about whom we also don't have much information. But the Rabbit Clown barely lasts at all. He probably becomes abstracted just days after arriving. The Blue Oyster manages to hold on a little longer. And then, in 2013, we have the arrival of Jax, who would form a close relationship with Ribbit and Kaufmo. But even that wasn't enough to stop the inevitable. Well, by 2014, the Blue Oyster is abstracted. But at the same time, Gangle also arrives, who seems to be one of the most emotionally unstable since her arrival. But in 2016, a tragedy would forever change 2 characters, as Ribbit is abstracted. And that completely changes the group's dynamic, because Ribbit was one of the few who had managed to stay stable along with Jax and Kaufmo. So, when Ribbit falls, Jax breaks. He becomes much more distant, apathetic, and cold with everyone, and meanwhile, Jax is trying to endure this tragedy. That same year, Zubo arrives, who would become one of the last survivors of the circus. And it wasn't until 2017 that we had the arrival of our protagonist, Pomni. Her arrival marks the most critical point in the whole story, because Pomni enters when the circus is already at its worst moment. But the worst part of all is that on the very same day Pomni arrives, Kaufmo gets abstracted. So Jax is left completely defenseless without his support group. And with this, the collapse of the digital circus begins. But now who's going to be abstracted next? Maybe in the story we won't get to see anyone being abstracted. But there is a high probability that some characters won't be able to take it anymore and end up transformed or in abstraction mode. The one we think is most likely to become abstracted is Jax. In fact, he's already had several moments where he almost became abstracted. They even showed us what the characters see when they're already becoming abstracted or in that abstraction mode. Besides, he's the one who has distanced himself the most from the whole group, and on top of that, he's had some very strange behaviors. Especially in episode 8, after they had the talk with Kinger. By the way, we have a video about how Jax is connected to the character Ted from the story that inspired the amazing digital circus. We'll leave it here if you want to watch it. Kinger is the next one who could be abstracted. He's the one who's been in the digital circus the longest and has survived until now, which is very surprising. But over time, he's been losing his mind more and more. They've even shown us that he dreams about his wife Queenie, who is the one he misses the most. Besides, after failing to stop himself from having a certain kind of worry that pushes him to the brink of abstraction, Gangle could be the next to abstract. He is one of the most emotionally unstable characters, and at any moment his thoughts might overwhelm him. And this, combined with his emotions, will push him to the brink of abstraction. Ragata could end up abstracting because she's the second one who has spent the most time in the circus. She has tried to be everyone's mom. It even seems like she wants to save them. But to the others, they only see her as a simple rag doll. The moment she realizes this and accepts it, she will no longer find purpose in her existence, which will probably cause her to abstract. Zubu might end up abstracting because Kane made her relive her trauma in the worst possible way. This is really going to leave a mark on her and cause her to abstract. Pomni might be the last one to abstract, since she's the one who spent the least time in the digital circus. It seems like she's not as broken as the other characters yet. You can see that she's gained courage with each of the adventures Kane has given them. But possibly, when she discovers something about the circus that she can't handle, she'll reach that point of anxiety where we see her abstract. Well friends, what do you think about this timeline of the characters, about how they arrived at the digital circus and how they ended up abstracting? Is there any other character we didn't include? We'll be reading your comments.